This is Kat Sturtz from rockingyourpath.com with another episode of Fast Action Fridays. I am excited to bring you today's guest. Brenda Adelman and I have known each other online for longer than either of us can remember. And this is the first time we've had a chance to sit down face to face, even though it's computer and online, and actually talk. And we've discovered we have so much in common and could talk for hours. But she is here to talk about how to feel and look good in your live streams. Brenda, welcome to Fast Action Fridays. Can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Thanks for having me. It's exciting to be here finally. A little bit about myself. Oh, I know what I'll do. I will do the 2-minute version of my pitch for my one-woman show because it kind of says it all. I grew up in Brooklyn with a Jewish wannabe father who taught me how to drive a Cadillac at 6 and how to shoot a gun at 10. A bohemian artist mom who took me traveling with her all over the world and read it to me from the time I was 3 years old as a bedtime story. Big characters, big laughs, big love. And then, and this is true, in 1995, my father, who I loved, shot and killed my mother, who I loved, and then quickly thereafter moved in with and then married my aunt, my mother's sister. So my life's work, it wasn't lost on me that was like Shakespeare's Hamlet, but Hamlet is about revenge and destruction, and my life's work, my one-woman show, everything I do is about the power of forgiveness, standing in our power, being okay with our story, and presenting ourselves in a way that impacts others.
Not all of us have that much trauma in our backgrounds. I have a good bit in mine. I wouldn't say it comes close to yours, but we all have things that help define us and that we can choose to struggle with, or we can choose to turn into our strengths. And it sounds like you're about to tell us how to turn some of these struggles into our strengths to help us present ourselves better. What have you got to share with us?
Because well, after that happened in my life, I really wanted to be invisible. And I think a lot of people are like that. They hide things in their life, or they just kind of manage, or they compartmentalize. So the first 4 years or so of my life after my mom died was spent with me thinking. And it was only in writing my story down and then presenting it in public that I started to heal. And then I went and did the inner work so that I could feel like a victor of my life instead of a victim to my stories. So the process was, I have a critically acclaimed one-woman show that I've performed all over the world based on my life story and the power of forgiveness. And I was doing that. And then a couple of years ago, I think it was 2015, I was teaching storytelling to other people as well, healing from your story, sharing your story on stages. And then I'm a coach. And so I had so many friends, so many colleagues that were coaches. And, all of a sudden live streaming was coming in and doing videos, and they really did not know what they were doing. And it was painful. I would talk to them and they would say the process was painful, but they really didn't want to do it. They were hiding. A lot of them were hiding their main stories, which of course now we know you want to tell your story, but you also don't want to tell it from a victim place, but you want to tell your story because that's what people remember. And they didn't have the tips, because I was an actress my whole life, they never knew how to be in front of a video. So not only were they dealing with what should I say and how can I be on video the way that I am one-on-one with my clients, but they just simply did not have the tools and the skills of being on camera. And so I created my first online course around and challenge around how do you feel confident on video. And it's just a pet peeve of mine. Some people are like, just go live, you'll be better, you'll do better. And it's like, no, you need skills. It's like someone telling me to go on a basketball court and just keep playing. I won't get better. But if a coach came and said, hey, move your arm a certain way, do this a different way, then I'll be better. So I like to lower the amount of time for people to get better, be better, feel comfortable on video so that they can make more sales, attract the right clients, things like that.
I love that. You've taken me right back to some of my early training with the Michigan Farm Bureau, and I went through their spokesperson training. And for those that are listening or watching to this and saying, oh, I can't do that, I'm an introvert, I want to tell you that I am an introvert who has morphed into an ambivert. I pick and choose my time when I'm willing to put myself out there. The rest of the time, you're going to find me in the back just observing and being quiet. And a lot of people, a lot of famous people that you know because of their performances are actually introverts. Henry Fonda being one of them. So there are ways to bring ourselves forward. So can you give us some tips to help us do this better?
Well, number one, you don't have to do it alone. Yes, listen to shows like yours, listen to experts that know what we're doing, so that I think there's like this misconception that you just should be able to show up and be fine. And this is a skill to learn, just like, people think you should just be able to write the great American novel. No, you can actually learn the craft, and then you can be a better writer. So yeah, let me give you some tips. Let me give your listeners some tips, your viewers some tips today. So one of the things, so simple, is that, as an actress and going on stages all over the world also, is preparation. Not just pressing play, but how can I get into a mood where I'm out of my head and in my body? So something as simple as right before you go do videos or go live, put on a rockin' piece of music, something you love to get you energized, so that when you press play, you're not stuck in yourself, you're actually in your body, and you have something to really contribute, kind of, especially now. It's so important with so many people in lockdown to just give that energy. And then for other people, maybe it's about centering your energy and playing some classical music or doing some meditation. So this is about knowing yourself. For different roles that I play, I do different things. Let me just think, what would be something specific to video that is good for video or for stage, but something specific. Something specific to video is also, it's hard when we're trying to think about what are we going to say, but it's you out of your head and into your body. So either memorize what you're going to say, put like an index card right next to the lens with like 1 to 3 notes so that you can stay on topic, and always look, this is a big one, through the camera, not at the camera. And these are simple things, and it's not like it's horrible if you don't do that. But by the way, that's also great for photos, because I've taken so many photos in my lifetime as an actress. It's one thing to kind of look, let me see if I can do it. I'm looking at the camera here. It's very subtle, but it's bigger for you guys probably. Looking at the camera there. Now I'm looking through the camera. It's much more of a connection for the person on the other side. So those are a few tips. And one more tip is that, because I see this as a mistake, it's this weird thing. It happens with a microphone, and it also happens with pressing play, is people go off on long tangents. It's like all of a sudden you have the microphone in your hand, or you have the camera on, and you forget what you're going to say, and you start going off on this tangent and that tangent. And then before you know it, a 5-minute video is 20 minutes. So set an intention for how long you want your video to be, and then check the clock. And then if you're going off, don't, judge yourself, just bring it back to a close. And often if you say you're going to do less time, you'll speak with more authority, you'll be quicker in your pace, so it'll be more interesting for people to watch. There's just a few.
Yeah, within that, I heard, without you actually using the word, rehearse what you're going to do. Get into it. Those of us who do stage, and you have done a lot more than I have on my little community theater. But there's a reason we rehearse before we go on stage. There's a reason I have a conversational period of time before we start these interviews, and it's to warm up our throats, to get us in the mood, to build up that energy. And I know those listening to this today won't see this, but here's my little note that's sitting in front of my computer with the title and the focus of what we're discussing today, and just over to my side on my other monitor are little notes to follow to keep us on track. So I love that. Now, I know that's not the only tip you have for us, or the only tips you had for us. So what's next? What else can we really focus on to help us improve ourselves?
Well, if you need to read something, it's also a good idea. So I'm not really reading it, although I did jot down some notes here. See, here's a paper. Like you had a little note, a little index card too. If you really need to read something and you're not doing a teleprompter, and I have a whole training on teleprompters, but well, number one, I'll say here, you don't want to be too close. If the teleprompter is right there and you're too close to the camera, you'll see the eyes moving. So you want to be further back, but there's a little tip there. So if you definitely need to read something as a script, you can put it right below the camera, right? So it's right there. Don't put it over here so that because as soon as you look away, like for a long amount of time, we lose the connection. So you want to put it right here. This is like an acting technique when you're doing cold readings, which means you have an audition, you haven't really had time to look at it. You kind of grab the words and you come right back up to the camera. Always come back to the camera. Let's see, there's like so many tips I can give right now. So here's one, and I just showed it. I was thinking, when I was thinking, I was looking up. Believe it or not, naturally, I look down when I'm thinking, but I know if I'm on camera that cuts the connection off. So I've trained myself to think up, either to the right, to the left, or up, so that I keep that connection going. The other thing I wanted to say about rehearsals, because you mentioned that, and that's really important to rehearse if you can, is that some of the frustrations my colleagues were having and that clients have is that they are rehearsing. They're rehearsing and rehearsing and rehearsing, and then they get on and the video is not good. It's because they're rehearsing the wrong things. That's why you have to get a mentor. You have to learn the training, figure out how to get maybe you've downloaded some report, but then you need someone to tell you how to actually do that. You want to get, like, I really believe, of course, I'm someone who went to master classes for years and years and years before taking the stage so much. You want to get feedback like you get from the director, right? So that you're not rehearsing the same mistake over and over and over and over again. And then you're exhausted. And then you're like, fine, I'm just going to put it up. And then it's crappy. That's unease because, I'm going to give a tip on the ums and the filler words too in a second. You don't have a lot of time to make a presentation. So if you put a crappy video out there because you've just done it so much and you're like, someone's told you just put it out anyway. And I do believe done is better than perfect, but I do not believe in putting something out there that's not going to have you look in the best light when most of the people I talk to are looking for clients and looking for more business and to have more of an impact. You won't have that because someone will look at bad lighting, or they'll look at you being in your head, and that you'll lose them in like under 30 seconds. So that's why I want people trained so that when they finally do put it out there, there's a level of combination or one of these things: professionalism, authenticity, connection, expertise, like have them all together, and that's great. Okay, filler words, which I just did terrible with, which I do sometimes add. Mine's some people it's so. I didn't do this before I started, and that's why it came up. Filler words are those words that we use when we're thinking. So the last time I went here, you can actually literally, right before you start, set yourself up for success by saying, I will not use filler words now. I'm not going to use filler words in this interview. And then before I'm about to say one, I'll just be quiet and be comfortable with the silence while I'm thinking, and then I'll talk.
Being comfortable with the silences is difficult for a lot of people. So I'm glad you brought that up. Now, I want to remind people, especially if you're new to any of my Fast Action Friday shows, my guests always have a free resource for us. And make sure and look down in the description, either on the blog post or in the YouTube video or wherever you're seeing this, because Brenda's sharing her cheat sheet, 5 ways to prepare for your live stream. So you'll be able to get that free from her with additional tips. You and I could just sit and talk about this particular subject. I want to remind people, and it's something you just touched on, but I know that the people I coach, they have to be reminded that you have to be willing to make a mistake. You have to be willing for it to be crappy the first few times. And
I dropped my notebook.
And we're going to keep right on going because this is filmed live. So welcome to like old-fashioned live TV. But you have to start. This speaking is not something that you can wait until you perfect to actually get up and do, is it? Can you speak to that?
No, this is really important. Yeah, this is so important. And I do teach storytelling classes too. And part of the storytelling classes I started to teach last year have a showcase at the end, because it means people not only writing their story, working on their stories with me, but they have to get up in front of the public, because you can't just say, I mean, you could, it's going to look really bad if you're like, I forgot my line. I can't do this. Like, you have to deal with the fear that comes with actually doing, as you know, since you step on stage too. But there's a magic. There's like a tier jump in your professionalism when you do that. So when you're doing a live, you know, like treat every video like it's going to be live. I personally don't like editing. And in the way the world is right now with live streams, pretty much everything is forgivable. Since COVID, everything is pretty much forgivable. So it is the matter of like deciding, and it just comes with experience. Like when I dropped the pad, I was going to just ignore it. And then there was a moment to say, oh, I dropped the pad. You know what I'm saying? Like that comes with experience. I've been on stages where, you know, someone dropped dishes. And I was performing in a restaurant that in the rehearsals, everything was, you know, silent. And then a waiter dropped something and I just kept plowing through my lines, didn't even wait. So I lost a lot of laughs. Whereas now I would have said something, or I would have at least waited. So that just comes with time, like doing those videos and realizing, should I say something? Should I not? Can the people see it or not? It does humanize us when we've made some kind of mistake, if it's not egregious and something keeps happening over and over again. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I want you to start winding us down. Is there any one particular bit of advice that you think people either forget, really need to know? And maybe it's one that you've already mentioned, or one that just helps people shine better than any other tip you have?
Just one. I have so many. Let me see. I'm going to give you one technical one and one inner one.
Okay.
So technically, you want the light to look good. You don't want clutter. You want the sound to be there, because you'll lose people right away with that. And then an inner tip would be to get present, be in the present moment. If you're doing an interview, really listen to the other person. Don't be in your head about what's the next thing to say. So what that comes down to is trust that you are enough. And part of the way to do that is take the attention off of yourself and onto the other person, whether it's, you know, the person you're talking to, the listener. Know that they are going to be so helped by what you say to them. So taking yourself out of it is really helpful.
That's good advice for one-on-one, face-to-face, mask-to-mask conversations these days too. My lighting, because I show people how to do things with a shoestring budget, is a floor lamp with a daylight bulb in it that's got a little bit of a cover over it. It's nothing special. I'm not here in a studio with big fancy video lights. I'm using a Logitech C920 webcam, not my computer one, because it's much better. I was looking for it earlier, and we were talking about, you know, being prepared, but here it is. the little tip you had about making sure to look into the camera. So many people spend time watching themselves in their view on their screen or on their phone, and you're not looking at the camera in that. So for many years, I had this, and again, my apologies for those who are listening to this. This is a little Post-it note with a hand little picture of me that I literally taped above where my camera is to remind me to look at that person where the camera lens was, rather than to watch me here on the screen monitor.
Yeah, that's a good point. And there's two things on that. I'm also just in front of a window. A window is in front of me. I'm actually on my computer, although I do have that same camera that you have. I do have lights for nighttime. I have a few, but I'm not using anything. I have a ring light too. I prefer daylight if I don't have to shoot at night. And then, yeah, another thing, well, here's that thing. That's really great what you said. Like, you can draw a picture like that, or you can put someone you love, or a puppy. Like, I used to always put think of my dog over there. Here it is. It's like knowing the rules so you can break them, because I agree. You want to look in the camera and through the camera for the most part, but yet sometimes, even as a professional actress and doing films and TV, I will, feel disconnected. And so I will go back down and look at myself or look at you, but then it's always bring yourself back up when you remember. So I do go back and forth, but it also depends how big the video is and stuff like that. Because if someone's watching it on a really big TV, then yeah, your eyes will be down completely. So you want to keep looking up, and you want to memorize, like, this is an acting thing. Memorize your first line, memorize your last line so that it's to the camera.
Those are all great tips. I wish we had hours to present today. One thing I told you earlier, and one thing I love about my Fast Action Friday show, is I provide a platform not only for experienced experts like you who have done a lot of public speaking and a lot of video, but also for people who are just starting out. And I love being their first exposure to and getting those jitters out in that first interview that's live, either live or recorded live, which is what we're doing today. Thank you again for coming and being my guest on Fast Action Fridays. We have already discussed having you back in a few months to discuss, I think, storytelling next time.
Yes, storytelling, yep.
Yes, which will pair right with this one. So thank you again, Brenda. If you're watching, remember to look down below for the directions to access her freebie, which is a cheat sheet on 5 ways to prepare for your live streams so you can be relaxed and be yourself.
Yes, thank you.
This is Kat Sturtz closing another episode of Fast Action Fridays. Remember to come back next week when I will have another great guest. Until then, remember to keep rocking your unique path to success. Bye-bye.